And if you're anything like me, you're going to have powder everywhere. Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts and I hope you're doing okay. Now, a lot of the resin manufacturers are coming out with eco pours, and Let's Resin is no exception. They've brought out their Magic Pour, which is a resin casting powder. It's a 3:1 ratio with water. So the only thing you need to mix it with is water. And I asked if I could try it because I've only ever tried one eco pour before, and I had a mediocre success with it. I didn't do too well to start with, but I got there in the end. So I'd really like to try Let's Resin. So let's see how I got on with the Let's Resin Magic Pour and see what I can do with it, because I am a novice at this. I am very proud to announce that I am now an ambassador for Let's Resin, and Let's Resin have completely sponsored this video. As you saw, the discount codes were on the screen. They are also in the description box below, and all my discount codes are on toonpish.com. And this is their Magic Pour box. Now, I was quite surprised what was in here. I was only expecting the powder. There's 3 moulds in there, a couple of mixing cups. You have a very handy mixing spatula. There's the powder measuring scoop, which is always handy, a bit like what you would use for your washing powder, I suppose. And I wondered what this was. It's a box of paints. These are acrylic paints, and acrylic paints can be used to change the colour of this powder. It's a resin casting powder, 3:1 by weight, and you mix it with water, a handy leaflet, and some sanding paper. And it looks like it's wet dry sanding paper, so that's great to control dust as well. So what does the leaflet say? Well, it says that Magic Pour is odourless, fast curing, self-levelling, easy to mix, easy to demould, self-gassing, demould in 30 minutes, cured in 2 hours, and the parameters are whiteness 98 and mesh 2000. Now, as like the product I used before, I have no clue how much I'm going to need with this. I'm sure Claire has a way of working this out, and I will, in future, get my head around that one. But at the moment, I have no clue. So what I'm going to do is follow the guide in the leaflet. And if you're anything like me, you're going to have powder everywhere. Now, the guide says prepare powder and water according to the required weight ratio, 3:1. There is actually a picture of 2 little scales. One says 100 with the powder on it, and the water says 30. Now, I'm no mathematician, but I know 3:1 means that the water should be 33.3 recurring and not 30. However, I'm going to go with what the leaflet says. 100 grams of powder and 30 grams of water. I'm trying to do this as precise as possible and getting it spot on, because the first time using anything, I want to make sure I'm doing it right. I even go as far as using a pipette just to take out a little bit and put it back in to make sure it's spot on. Now, as this has a 30-minute demold time, I'm guessing you don't have a lot of time to stir this product. And so this is real time. There is no speeding up involved. It is actually the time it took me to stir this product. It is beautifully white, crisp white like snow. It is white. And I'm just literally stirring for a few seconds. Now, I've actually checked the timer on this video and I was stirring for just over 30 seconds. It feels pretty gritty to start with, and then it very quickly turns into the feeling there's nothing there. It just feels like water when you're stirring it. When I think I've got the right consistency and I've stirred enough, I'm just going to pour into this little tea light holder mould. And I've actually got a little bit left, so I'm going to pour it into the small coaster mould. I'm not going to worry if I don't fill this up. it is left over because I only really wanted to do the tea light mould. Then I figured I needed to get rid of any bubbles in 90-degree angles, so I just grabbed a microbrush and went round the outside edge quite quickly with the microbrush to see if I could get rid of any stuck air. I don't think you're going to need to tap and shimmy and shake this product. It is like water. I then set the timer with the lady in the corner for 30 minutes. So after 30 minutes, I immediately went over and demolded these pieces. And I thought they would be very fragile, but they felt really solid and completely bubbleless. Now, as I understand it, these pieces are going to need to be sealed with wax or with some kind of varnish or sealer. I love the tea light holder mould. It is absolutely beautiful. If you're making tea lights, that's the one to get. I don't know if they sell it separately, but it is beautiful mould. And you can do so much with this. You could add it to so many other pieces. Now, I'm used to resin that feels plasticky. This feels more like, I wouldn't say china, but it's definitely ceramic. Although they are still warm, they're still not completely cold. They are smooth and very tactile. And I was expecting them to be a little bit more dusty as well. I'm quite surprised how little came off of the surface. But this little coaster wasn't quite thick enough to give it a coaster feel. It was very thin where I hadn't had enough for the mould. So I decided to break it. Now, it had only been about 45 minutes since I poured this, so it was still quite fragile and it didn't take much to break it, but then it was very thin. I wanted to see if this product would attach to itself. So I decided to put bits of the broken white pieces back into the mould and to see if we could attach a different colour to it and what would happen. So that's my plan for this bit. Of course, I'm going to save all the other broken bits because you never know when they will come in handy. And this time I'm going to double the amount. So I'm going to do 200 grams of powder and 60 grams of water. Again, I do believe that it should be 66, but I'm going to do 60 because that's what the instruction says. I'm still being as precise as I can be with the measurements to make sure that I'm not messing this up. I'm going to get more adventurous with this product, but not in this video. And because I've got more powder, I'm going to put it in a larger cup to mix. And this time I'm going to try adding some mica powder, some dark blue from Let's Resin. This comes from their 36 pack of Let's Resin powders and it's a beautiful dark blue. Now I have no clue how much I'm going to need to put in to change the colour of the powder. I start off with a smaller amount and just keep adding until I find that it's actually gone a blue colour. Any colour that you put in here will be dulled down because it's a white powder and not clear. Us resin users are so used to having clear resin and just putting a touch of powder in and it completely takes over. As it's a dry powder, I decided just to mix it directly to the powder before I put the water in so that it's already mixed in, and that will make it an easier mix, I think. And yes, I've got a blue colour. Now I did actually have to put quite a bit of powder in here, and this mixing is definitely sped up because I couldn't work that fast if I tried. But it's definitely gone blue and I'm happy about that. Again, I did mix quite rigorously for about 30 seconds, not very long at all. But once I was happy that it was completely mixed, I started to pour into this mould and making sure that it went into all those little gaps where the previous white isn't. And I just filled the mould up and fingers crossed it will attach itself to the previous bit. Now I made a lot, so I'm going to make another tea light holder because I really like this mould for a start. And I had a tiny little bit left, so I grabbed a little half sphere mould from the drawer just to use up what I had left over. While that was sitting off to one side, curing, I decided to make another piece. So I added some of the acrylic paint to some water. Now as it's a wet colour I figured I couldn't add it to the powder, so my best option was to add it to the water. That was my way of thinking. Then when I mixed the water to the powder, it should be again a quick mix. Now that causes a little bit of a problem because I don't know how dark the powder's going to be immediately when it gets the colour. So I've tried to make the colour quite dark. Hope you're following what I'm saying here. Again, I'm making 200 grams of powder to 60 grams of water with paint. And yes, I chose purple because, well, why wouldn't I? I love purple. So it's going to be a surprise to see what this colour ends up as. Will it be purple or will it be just really, really light purple? And it wasn't too bad actually. It was quite like a baby purple, a pastel colour. Maybe I just didn't put enough in the water to get a brighter colour, but I had no clue on how much I needed. But I like this lilac type baby purple. Note to self, put more paint in the water before you mix it with the powder if you need a darker colour. And of course I went around the outside edge with a micro brush. I did shimmy and shake it a bit, but I don't think that's going to make any difference. So 30 minutes later and I can demould, and firstly I'm going to demould this little part of a sphere. The colour is actually really quite sweet. Again, it's a baby blue colour, but I think it's really, really lovely. I do love that tea light holder, and I am definitely struck that there's hardly any bubbles in any of the pieces. And this little coaster is now a proper size, and let's see if it's attached itself to the white pieces. And I really love that. I love how that's come out. It does have little edges where the white and the blue have met, but a little bit of sanding I'm sure will take that down so it's nice and smooth. And it really didn't take much to sand this. Because I've only just made it, it's still quite soft and it's sanded really easily. And for the lilac tray, again came out of the mould beautifully, very smooth. Little tiny air bubbles to the right, but that's it. Now I decided that I was going to try one more thing with this, but I really do like how this came out. This is so universal. I don't use this type of mould often enough, I think. But you know what? It is a sort of mould that you can use and utilise in so many different ways. So I've decided to put that to the test, and I'm going to use some rose gold, which is mica powder from Let's Resin. It's a gorgeous pinky red, and I love this rose gold. I'm mixing it with 30 grams of powder and 10 grams of water. Now this is a very, very small amount of powder, and as I don't really know what I'm doing with this product at the moment, this is still early days, but I'm going to try and pour it on top of the other tray. Now in my head it would act exactly the same as if you poured it into a silicone mould, but no, it virtually set the second it touched the tray. Now I think, looking back on this, the reason it's doing that is because the tray is cold. That's the only thing I could think of. I didn't stir it for any longer, anything like that. That's the only reason I can think of, is that that tray was cold. It wasn't a warmish silicone mould. It was a cold, hard tray. And I think that's why it cured that quickly. So panicking, I decided to put my tea light holders down before it set too much and try to push them down so that they were flat. I don't actually think they were perfectly flat, but I did my best at that point. But they were in. So, as it didn't do what I wanted it to, I then made another batch of 30 powder and 10 water with some more rose gold colour. And again, stirring very quickly, I'm now going to attempt to pour it on, and hopefully it will go round the outside edges of these tea lights. I think the underside of the pink was a little warmer, but it still wasn't flowing as well as I wanted it to. I did tip it and turn it around and try to use a micro brush to get it round the back side of this white one, and it was getting a bit messy, and I thought, what am I going to do here? It went round the outside edge of the blue one, fine, but there wasn't much of a gap around the back of the white one. Now you can't see it, but by me moving this micro brush around the back of the white tea light holder, I'd got the pink all the way up the side of the white one, and I was thinking this is just going to turn into such a mess. I was happy it went around the back of the blue, but the white one was just becoming a real mess. So I grabbed some cotton buds and I started moving the pink away, trying to clear up the mess that I'd made. And to my surprise, it worked really well. Now, I did have a couple of little spots where the colour hadn't gone. So I grabbed the rest of what was in the cup and I managed to fill up those little holes, even though I look as if I'm making a big mess, huge mess. It does clean away really quite easily with cotton buds. I just wanted that hole to be filled. That was it. I didn't want to ruin my piece here, but I equally didn't want to leave myself with a hole where there wasn't any pink. And look at the way the cotton bud just took it off. A little bit of water or alcohol on that cotton bud, and it turned out really, really nicely. I was quite surprised by that, to be fair. So after I managed to avoid disaster, I was really happy with the outcome, and I let it cure. And although the pink has some weird bubbly effects on the pattern of the colour, I really love it. And I love this little white and blue tray. Well, this was my very first time using Magic Pour. So what do I think? Well, I'm not very knowledgeable on eco pours as I haven't used that many. And the experience I've had in the past has left me unsure whether I wanted to use them again. However, I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed playing with this product, and I loved the fact that I could just break the piece up and put it in and it would meld to itself, fix to itself if you like. There are lots more things I want to try with this product, and I've asked Let's Resin if they would send me some more of this product. It's definitely, I think, a product for the future. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this one and I hope you've got something out of it. If you want to ask me any questions, I will do my best to answer them if you leave them in the comment section below. Don't forget I've got discount codes for Let's Resin that are all in the description box below, including now a Canada discount code and an Amazon discount code for the UK. Anyway, come back and see me next time because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week, happy crafting, and bye for now.